This is not really anything formal, Sam. I don't want it to feel like it's not nothing formal. It's just a chat. I just want to know your perspective on business. That's more than anything else. I just want to know how you see the world, how you see business, how you see, performance. That's basically it. How does that sound to you? Any questions before we chat away?
No, I'll not questions. I'll try to answer the questions as best I can.
All right. Well, before we talk about the questions, can you share a bit more about your business? Um, Assuming, like, of course we know each other, but if we had never met each other and I said, "Hey,
Okay.
what do you do? What do you look after?" How would you share that?
Okay. I would say I am fortunate that I get to work with organizations who want to attract and retain neurodivergent staff. I help them to create things like neurodiversity policies,
Mm,
which support their leaders by giving them very clear guidelines on how they can support their team members at a local level.
mm,
And I help teams improve their communication skills so that they can give and receive instructions with real clarity. And I help them to improve how feedback is delivered and received. And yeah, I'm so blessed to have such a great job. I also speak at conferences and things like that about these subjects, and I'm talking more and more about how organizations can use AI to support their neurodivergent employees,
mm.
quite often for free.
That's really interesting. What's the story there? How do you use AI to support those who are neurodivergent?
See, a lot of the things that we've got already, people don't realize have been helping us for quite a while. Things like predictive text
Mm,
and apps like Grammarly helping people to express themselves more clearly, more accurately, where they
mm,
need to. And it's a sort of extension of that. So one might say you could have an employee and outside of a network, because I know there's a lot of worries about AI having access to intellectual property, things like that. So if you bought a standalone tablet, for example, and it had a browser on it, then that person would be able to use pretty much any of the AI offerings out there, whether it's Copilot, Gemini, ChatGPT. They could use the free version. Obviously, the paid version is better quality and will give you more bang for your buck. But if we're talking about how you could support, for very little, the tablet could cost 40 quid maybe. ChatGPT, the free version. And say I was an individual who had had feedback that my communication skills weren't fantastic at work. I was too direct, too
mm,
blunt,
mm,
wasn't kind of throwing in the social niceties that are expected. I'm told I'm rude, all that kind of stuff. I might put my email that I just wrote into ChatGPT and say, could you please rewrite this email for a UK audience and make it more friendly but still professional? And
mm.
it will help with those extra things. In about 10 seconds, it would rewrite a fairly short email, which you copy and paste and send. I mean, check
Mm.
it, obviously, but it could support someone in that way, whereby if you were expecting them to uh, fluff up that email themselves, they might spend a considerable amount of time agonizing over the right words, trying to find out, getting a body. Can you read this? Is this okay for me to send?
Mm.
That costs money. Time is money, right? Why not just let them use AI and they can do it in seconds and everyone's a winner?
Do
So
you
that kind of example.
do you know how many people in the workforce are neurodivergent? So I just get a better idea of, in context, if I were to So I work at a really big company. Maybe it has 10,000 employees, 15, maybe even 100,000 employees or so. How many
Hmm.
people could I roughly guess would make up the neurodivergent group?
It's probably around about 20% or a fifth.
Wow.
It's probably around that. There's a lot of undiagnosed neurodivergent people out there, mostly over
Mm,
the age of 30. There's
mm,
lots of people who are getting a diagnosis much later in life if they can afford it, or they might have waited between 2 and 7 years to get it. And I would say there's a higher percentage of young people who are diagnosed and might be able to self-advocate perhaps a bit more easily.
mm.
But certainly, and also it depends on the industry, as you might imagine. An engineering organization or an IT firm might, or a finance firm might stereotypically have a slightly higher percentage of neurodivergent employees because the very sort of black and whiteness of it's right or wrong with very little
Yeah,
grey is very
yeah.
attractive to people who like that surety.
Mm,
Some people like to work, maybe people who have ADHD like the spontaneity, the grey areas, the room for creativity and doing something different, and they might enjoy something that's a lot more flexible than that. If they have ADHD and they're autistic, who knows? I'm ADHD with autism. So I have had jobs that are incredibly rigid, working in IT as
yeah.
governance manager. And I've also had jobs where I could be quite flexible, problem solving, which really appealed to my ADHD side.
Mm,
And then you have people who are dyslexic as well. And dyslexic individuals make fantastic people managers, stereotypically. Again, I'm generalizing to some extent because everyone is so different. But yeah, it's a much bigger number than most people think.
what does it mean to be neurodivergent?
It's literally different wiring in our brain.
Mm,
If you
what
can
kind of?
imagine, our brain makes connections, makes sense of the world,
Yeah.
right? And a neurotypical person, their brain will make those connections in a certain way, and they'll make sense of the world out of that. But they will often have the ability to recognize or understand things like the subtle nuance and hints and suggestions that are
Mm,
around those things.
mm,
Whereas a lot of neurodivergent people are only really taking what's in front of them because their connection in their brain is very solidly just the connection. There isn't that extra
mm,
nuance around the outside for them to guess that someone said this and meant that, or the situation means that we don't say that, but we mean that. It's that extra
mm,
stuff around the edges that we perhaps don't have. Our connections are like arrows,
mm.
which
You,
explains why a lot of people take things literally when they're neurodivergent because they're like, but that's what you said.
so this is going to sound very simplistic, and you're going to have to correct me if what I'm saying is not true. But if the wiring is different to the vast majority of people, what can we expect, say, someone who is neurodivergent, if they are far more literate, far more literate, far more direct, far more sort of like not reading in between the lines? What, where do those other sort of connections go then? Where are they? What makes them, I guess, exceptional?
Mm, that's a good question.
And I ask that because, generally speaking, the um, the culture around those who are neurodivergent, it's one that is like they are very, very intelligent. They are
Mhm,
they can be a bit blind to, as you were describing, those kind of social cues.
mhm,
They are capable of seeing things that others are actually missing. So,
Mhm.
for example, you might see movies where somebody is neurodivergent and they are able to do crazy maths calculations immediately, whereas it would take someone else a very long time to do it.
Mm.
First of all, is that even true? Second, is
Okay.
that is that what you can expect, or is that just such a vague and general stereotype that you can't really apply it?
So, in the same way that if you had practiced the piano every day of your life,
Mm.
how old are you, Elias?
I'm 27.
Right, okay. You'd probably be pretty good at the piano right now, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're
That's
right.
a lot of hours. And in the same way, a lot of people who are able to focus for a long time on the same subject will get really good at it because they're really interested in it.
What? So it's that singular focus. It's not necessarily that their ability is that much better. It's just that they are able to focus more singularly on a subject.
I think in the large part, yes, there are some people who are gifted. I'm going to
Yeah.
call it gifted because they're blessed with a talent that shows up really early, and it's obvious that for them, their brain is so comfortable in that zone. Whether it's someone who's a maths genius, I will use that word because there are maths geniuses, obviously, scientific brains that work in a very specific way. They see the patterns in maths.
Um,
It's sort of effortless almost because it's right there in front of them. And most of us, me included, I do not see those patterns. I do not have that kind of brain. My
um,
talents are very much in problem solving and creative ideas. That's where I absolutely shine. And a lot of
um,
ADHD people shine in that place. And that's why they often end up becoming entrepreneurs because they want to try things, new things all the time. They like all the new apps and the tools, and that's really exciting. And
um.
it's not just oh squirrel. It's the novelty factor. It's I need something fresh to get my brain my
So,
teeth in.
final question on your space before we move into talking about how you would run a business. What is one thing that is just generally accepted about your area that you actually disagree with?
I think it's the empathy thing. There's a myth that
Ah,
neurodivergent people, particularly autistic people, lack empathy, and that's not what's going on.
what is going on?
It's it's sympathy, not empathy. So if I was to come to you and I was to share a problem with you,
Mm,
you don't know whether I'm hoping you'll help me solve the problem or if I want you to go, oh, there, Sam. Yes, that's really tough.
mm,
A lot of people aren't clear about what they want when they're sharing things. And when they don't get the response they were expecting, they will make a snap decision about that person. So I'm not very good at delivering sympathy. I run out very quickly of the there, oh
yeah,
dear, what a shame,
yeah,
there. Sorry to hear that. I mean, what else do you say, really?
yeah.
I go through the three stages of empathy very quickly into the problem solving. So the first stage is the I can stand in your shoes and understand what you're saying and understand how that might make me feel if I was in your position.
Mm,
Now, if they're emotionally upset, unfortunately, I can't stop being affected by that. So I will become upset too. I can't help it.
mm,
Uh, And then the third is that I want to take this pain away from you, with you. So let's find a solution. Let's fix it.
mm,
And because I don't like to dwell in the section where I'm emotionally connected and I'm also in tears potentially, um, I would rather move very quickly to the let's fix it.
mm,
But what I've had to learn is that many people aren't ready to go to fix it. They've got to go through this process of emotions getting understanding from people, talking it through, all that kind of stuff. So I've had
Mm,
to be sensitive to that. So when people say, "Oh, well, can I talk to you? Can I confide in you?" I will ask them, "Are you do you just want me to listen?" Which is the sympathy bit. Or would you like me to share anything of myself so you can get solidarity with something similar with me? Because some
mm,
people don't want the other person to share a story either. Or do you want me to actually help you fix the problem? Because I'm
mm,
more that person. And I'm really clear about that with my friends. They know
mm.
I may not come across as very sympathetic. I will listen, but I'm really struggling because inside I want to fix the problem. I
Okay.
think a lot of people do that, and when they're not able to fix the problem, they'll just tune it out, and they'll come across as disinterested because they're not allowed to go to the fix it section.
Mm,
So I think that's where it comes from, what people are noticing, how people respond. So I think if people were clearer about what they need from someone in that moment, like, oh, Elias, I've got something I need to talk about. Could I just tell you all about it? I don't need to fix it. I just want to tell you all about it.
mm.
Wouldn't that be easier?
Yeah,
Now you know what I'm asking of you.
actually, I remember listening to a workshop about accessibility design, and the conclusion of that workshop was to make things that are accessible. It is better for everyone. There isn't any, for example, the example they used was uh, the ramps, ones where people who often are in wheelchairs, they need that support. However, that is good for people who don't even have a wheelchair, people who maybe have bad knees, who aren't in wheelchairs. Another great example is in phones who have bigger text, people who might
Hmm.
struggle visually, it is just better, full stop. Um, and for those in this case with neurodivergence, when you say be very clear on what it is you are asking, for them it must be an absolute lifesaver because they know exactly what's being said and it's very obvious. However, you can apply that to pretty much every conversation and say, if you are just more clear, you will get a better outcome. So it's wonderful to
Absolutely.
see, these
And
things.
it's a peculiarity. It's a peculiarity of British people. And to some
Mm.
extent, some other English speaking countries, they sort of picked it up by osmosis. But when you go to Scandi countries, Germany, Holland, Denmark, we don't do this fluffy nonsense.
Have you
It's
also noticed,
direct.
Sam? Have you noticed how like people in England love to use the word sorry for everything, even if it's not appropriate? Like it would be like you're walking and then nothing has happened, but you're just like, oh, sorry, 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 or like you need something and you're oh, sorry, sorry. Can I just? It's a constant thing. I don't know why we feel this need to want to put the mask up. You know?
Yeah, I think there's maybe a history of being told off that we've never enjoyed as humans, right? No one wants to be told off. So if
Mm.
somebody who's been very judgmental in the past has decided that's not how you behave, and then you get told off, then you'll start to be more apologetic if you think you might make a mistake next time. I get where some of the behaviors have come from, and that's probably come from our class society of
Yeah,
being told off from above.
yeah.
It's a throwback, if you like, I think. I have always preferred more direct language. I think I used to say sorry a lot when I was younger because I was copying other people.
Mm.
I didn't know why they were doing it. And I haven't said sorry for a very long time, other than actually apologizing to somebody.
I think the other thing, and we'll move on after this point because probably we've gone on to this topic for longer than I thought, but it was so interesting. One thing that I feel is I was speaking with a friend of mine from Greece, and he made a really fantastic point, which is in the UK, it's one of the few countries where people are very open and very proud of their social status as being working class. You
Mm.
don't get that in other places around the world. People who are working class will not openly say, and if they've then gone on to leave the working class bracket, say, I'm very proud to be from working class. Whereas in the UK, it's almost like it's a point of pride to say I'm working
Mm.
class. Maybe there is something there which when you were talking about with being told off or feeling like there is something above you waiting to tell you off. Maybe there is a sense of unity, some camaraderie between people who are working class. So yeah, that was just on my mind. I thought it was interesting to bring up.
Absolutely. And that's why things like unions work so well.
Yeah.
It's, together we stand, divided we fall kind of mentality, but there's strength in numbers. And when there's been something that's not right in some way,
Mm.
it's much more powerful to get together as a group and say, this is not okay. And
Yeah.
stand up for yourself. Because as an individual, you might feel powerless, but as a group, oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, we can go on about this for so long. I'm going to be very disciplined now, Sam. I'm going to be disciplined.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. We can split.
I mean, we don't have to, but let's do it. uh, okay. First question I would like to ask you, because the theme of this conversation, it's really about a data translator search for what drives success. Now,
Okay.
as someone who I don't have that many people around me who run a successful business, someone who I haven't seen that many people around me who are able to feed themselves on just the merit of their own business. It's a incredibly difficult thing to do, and not many people are capable
Mhm.
of it. And there is, I suspect, an underlying theme across all of these individuals. People who are able to run their own business and feed themselves with it. So I'm on a search to find that theme, to find the thread, the common thread that ties all of these people together. So one area I'm very interested to understand is what shapes your perspective as someone who runs their own business. How do you see the world? Why do you run your own business? What causes you to do what you do?
Okay, so I didn't feel that I was thriving as an employee, partly
Mm.
because of my neurodiversity, but because I'm a problem solver, when I'm told I'm not allowed to solve problems and that's my happy place, I don't want to be there anymore. So that kept happening over and over and over. And I thought,
Mm.
what can I do? And because schools very rarely talk about the fact that you could be employed by yourself,
Yeah.
it was a bit of a light bulb moment for me as a woman in her 30s at the time. And so I was fortunate that my husband was still working full time and I had a safety net. I could
Mm.
leave work and give it a good shot. And I've been doing it as a sort of, we'll call it a side hustle, during lunch hours and weekends and things like that. And I thought, well, it
Mm.
looks like it's got legs. Let's give it a go. As it happens, I've had to restart my business twice. But that's what happens sometimes. And you have to be prepared to change and dress it up as something else that people want, need, and that will pay for. And, so there's a bit of pivoting, a bit of moving. If you don't like change, don't run your own business.
Mm.
It's so rare to have a business that's just one thing and stays that thing. I mean,
Mm.
if you made the most exquisite leather handbags since 1752 and that's all you do, well done. Well done indeed. That's extraordinary to have that kind of business. So they are out there. But generally speaking now, especially if you're working with any tech or if you're working online in any way, you should expect to have to change quite a lot, quite frequently, and you're going to need to be okay with it.
What kind of
Otherwise,
changes
it's
have you made?
drain you. So the changes for me was a lot of changing to online. I was ready for online before other people were. So I
Mm.
had to wait for other people to have the appetite. So as awful as the pandemic was, it actually did me a huge favor.
Mm. What was it
And
about being online that you felt you were particularly ready for? What drives you towards the online space? Why online?
Okay, that's a good question. So I don't love traveling. It's one of the things that gives me quite a lot of anxiety, particular public transport,
Mm,
even driving, getting somewhere on time. I
mm,
hate being late. I would be 2 hours early rather than be late. That's how I roll. And especially if a client is paying me to be somewhere,
yeah.
no way I'm going to be late. And so there's a lot of anxiety around that. Whereas being online, it's unlikely, other than some terrible technical problem, that I will be late. I'm going to be here in good time. They're going to get exactly what they've asked for, just like they would have done in person. But I can reach so much further. I've spoken
Mm,
in Canada, Sweden. I've been to Sweden in person as well. I've spoken online in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, America, and I didn't have to get a flight. I didn't have to leave my house, and I still had a fantastic impact. On one
mm,
of the things, there were over 2,000 people on the call.
mm.
Great.
Do you ever get worried? So I'm in a bit of a bind when it comes to online versus in person because a part of me recognizes online. I don't like the narrative of it's either or. You're either online or not online. I think they're completely different things. Um,
Hmm.
in person has benefits that I just don't think online can ever really match. And then there are things that being online you would never get in person. And you already hit the nail on the head, which is the amount of people you can reach when you're online is it's incredible. On the additional end, what is missing when you are online is the small um, random events, random conversations that you get just because you're there in person, right? You're kind of
Yeah.
that I feel like is always as someone who doesn't work in the office anymore, gone completely remote. I think the part that I miss is probably the opportunity to know that someone is nearby and to be like, hey, you
Hmm.
want to go for a quick walk? Whereas that
Hmm.
with online, you have to schedule it, and it's
Hmm.
not that you lose some of that surprise, some of that spontaneity. It's hard to find that online. So this balancing
Yeah.
act, I still haven't quite figured it out yet.
So I do both.
Yeah.
I haven't just pivoted to online wholly.
Yeah.
There are some things that will only work online, like delivering a lunch and learn, because the organization has multiple different offices. It's only 40 minutes. There's no way they would have people drive into a central location to hear 40 minutes and then
Mm.
drive back to their offices. It's just not practical. So there are times when the online is absolutely the right answer. And you're right, there are times when in person is the only thing that will do. And that could be a conference that I've gone to where I'm either on the main stage or maybe I'm running a workshop for them. But I don't just do the workshop and leave.
Right.
I'm usually there all day so that people can talk to me
Mm.
afterwards, which they always do. Oh, I loved your workshop. And they'll ask like 60 questions, which is great. But so I do enjoy that, but I also find it very draining to be around lots of people. So I have to
Yeah.
be really careful with my energy.
Mm.
Um, I'm the kind of person who needs to be completely solo, or solitude on my own to recharge. So I have to pace myself. But if I'm doing things online, it doesn't feel so draining.
Mm. My apologies, Sam. My camera has. There we are. I am back.
Hello.
Have you used Riverside before?
I know I've got Riverside. I just haven't used it yet.
So I'm kind of torn about it, Sam. I mean, I've been told it's fantastic and apparently it records locally, and there are a lot of benefits to it. to be honest, I feel like it's so much more finicky than just having like a Zoom call, you know? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. My apologies for that interruption.
That's all right.
I understand what you mean. I do. There is something about being in person. For example, some of the events that you and I have been to, PSA stuff particularly, the drive there, the evening where we're spending, a whole evening together, and then the drive back, it's tiring. It really is. Like, you can get home. I'm a bit of an early bird. I like to sleep 9:30, 10, maybe. I push if I'm feeling a bit risky. I'll push it to 10:30. On the worst days, maybe 11. But I like to wake up, nice and early. In these sorts of moments where I'm at an event, you're kind of having to balance between I need to go and speak with people, get to know them, build relationship, make friends. And also, I want to also go home now, which is a challenge.
Yeah.
Sam, what is your view on how do you perform? So let's go through a day in life. What does that look like to you? What does a good day to you look like?
Okay. Well, no 2 days are ever the same. A good day could be that I've deliberately carved it out to do some editing on my videos, and that's a good day because
Mm,
I've protected it very well in order for me to be successful in that task, rather than having constant interruptions throughout the day with calls or whatnot. That would be much more challenging. I can't pick things up and drop them and pick them up again easily. I like
mm,
focus on one thing at a time.
mm.
And perhaps another example of a great day is where I have got some clients. It's nice when I have like a couple of different clients in a day. I quite like that change. One might be that I'm perhaps doing a lunch and learn online. Another one might be a one-to-one coaching session. It could be that I'm delivering into my American client, which starts at midnight UK time, because they're obviously 5 hours behind us,
Yeah.
or in some cases, 8 hours behind us.
Wow.
So
That must
I
be
don't
probably,
finish till 1 a.m.
whoa. Does that not, I mean, what time do you go to bed?
Oh, I go to bed between 2 and 3 a.m.
Are you a night owl?
I am. So I don't tend to have any morning meetings before 11.
Ah.
If I do, I'm a bit trashed because it's eaten into my sleep time. Because I can't go to bed early, I'll just stare at the walls. Uh, there's no point. My circadian rhythm is that of, I don't know, someone from North America, I think.
I find it weird, to be honest, Sam. Sometimes some of my best ideas come closer to the nighttime when it's dark. But I also find that when I wake up nice and early in the morning, and I guess it's probably the same, when there is no one awake, there is no distractions, you can zone in, focus. Is that how has that changed for you over the years compared to what you're doing today versus what you may have been doing 4 or 5 years ago? What has changed in terms of your output, in terms of your day, in terms of your performance? Is there anything that you used to do that you're like, oh, I'd never do that? That actually used to slow me down.
So I used to try and work the same way I did when I was employed, and that didn't serve me.
Oh.
So what I mean by that is I would get up at the same time. I would try and do a full day every day for 5 days in a row and treat it like a job.
Hmm.
And I didn't enjoy it. I resented it. I wasn't managing my energy. Um, in the evenings I was just spent, so I couldn't do any recreation type stuff in the
Hmm.
evenings because I had nothing left in the tank. And I realized I've just swapped one job for another. It's just that I'm the boss now, so I need to work in a way that suits me, not just the type of work I do, but when I work and how much time I spend with people, how much time I spend on my own. Um, what can I outsource if it's really draining me? And getting an assistant was a game changer. So I got one 2 years ago, and being able to have that backup, also having someone else in my business that I can talk to confidentially and throw ideas around, or what do you think about this? How's this
mm,
landing with you?
mm,
Because we don't generally have that as solo business owners. It's all
mm,
just us.
mm,
I know we can be in mastermind groups and things like that, but it's not quite the same. I find, I was about to say you, I can't speak for others. I find when I'm in a mastermind group, I probably don't share as much of my weaknesses and my failings as I might with my assistant. I'm probably a bit more warts and all with my assistant, where I don't feel judged and I or anything like that.
mm.
Whereas I might have a fear of some kind of judgment if I was in a mastermind group with my peers or something like that.
Where does that fear come from, Sam? What kind of fear is it?
uh so reputation and respect is really important to me. So
Mm,
if I think people are thinking, oh, she's not really up for the job, she's faking it really. She's not really the expert she tells everyone she is or whatever.
mm,
That would be devastating to me. And that's like an ongoing imposter syndrome kind of thing.
mm,
Uh but I'm a work in progress. I'm so much better than I used to be in that respect, in that I do appreciate I know a lot about my subject. And whilst I'm not the most knowledgeable person on the planet and I don't have a PhD in it and all of that kind of stuff, and I'm really, really clear about the fact that I am not a qualified coach, I'm not a qualified counselor or therapist. And
mm,
that's why I call myself a neurodivergent communication specialist,
mm,
because it's my specialist subject. And when I'm coaching people, that's just what we call that one-to-one session. Um, in effect, it's a mini training session with my communication specialist hat on. That's what it really is. I'm not really coaching in the conventional sense, like asking you a question and then listening and then asking you a question based on that. That's traditional coaching. Mine's almost more of a mentoring role rather than a coaching role, because I'm offering suggestions for them to try and things
mm,
like that, which a traditional coach wouldn't do. So, yeah, changing the way that I worked from the old work style made a big difference. And actually, I had to completely unlearn everything I'd been told to do in corporate. And it took about 2 years to rewire all that. It was really tough in the first couple of years because I didn't have anyone telling me what to do.
You are speaking my mind. I feel at the moment of this traditional Monday to Friday 9 to 5. For me, it's actually a little bit earlier and it finishes a little bit later. But ultimately, the structure is the same, and the being told what to do, it's the most challenging part that I'm finding, because right now I'm still trying to find a very clear product market fit. Trying to
Mhm.
define what is the problem I'm trying to go after, why am I going after it, what's the mission, who is it supposed to solve, what's the need or pain. These things require a certain, in my experience so far, it requires a certain amount of you don't know, and you have to be okay with that for a while. Whereas in the traditional setup, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 sort of structure, you don't get that luxury. Often it is, this is what you need to do, this is who you need to report into, and this is how you're going to be measured. It's very challenging to unwire that to, and maybe it's almost too much of a strong term, but I think it's kind of deprogram yourself. You're
Yes.
thinking completely differently to what you would ordinarily. Um, yeah.
Absolutely. And finding a way to keep yourself accountable, because no one else is saying, Elias, where's that thing you said you were going to do by Friday? Where is it?
How do you keep yourself accountable, Sam?
So I reward myself.
Hmm.
That I am I'm more carrot driven than stick driven. So
Hmm.
rewards are good for me. Now, sometimes, and this is possibly a bit of a quirk of mine, I have to have the reward before I do it
Mm.
because I need the dopamine.
Mm.
So it could be, instead of saying, after editing those 3 videos, Sam, you can go and watch 3 episodes of Russian Doll on Netflix. I would say, right, I'm going to go and watch 3 episodes of Russian Doll on Netflix, but the payoff is I have to then go and do 3 rounds of editing,
Mm. And is
and
that
I will.
oh wow, that requires an enormous amount of discipline because I the exact opposite. I if you give me the opportunity to turn that godforsaken number N or letter N on, and you hear the, I'm not coming out of it. You know, no matter how much you try and get me to come off the couch, I'm not. I'm not. You know, I would just be stuck there.
Oh, and that's the other thing. So I don't go to where I would normally relax. So I watch the Netflix
Oh,
here in my office on my laptop.
wow, that's an interesting perspective. Do you not worry about the blurring between areas
No,
that feel productive and areas then you feel like you're
no, because once I've watched the 3 episodes, I'm in exactly the position where I need to be to get straight on with that editing.
ah,
Whereas if I'm downstairs and now I've got to turn the telly off and then, oh, I'll just make a drink and, it's harder,
mm,
not impossible, but harder to then come up here, turn everything on, get it all going again. Whereas if I'm just here and all I'm doing is going, bye bye Netflix, it's so much easier to get on with the task.
well done, man. Well done for being able to do that. Because if I, like I said, once Netflix is on for me, it does not come off. I basically wait for that notification to come on, which says, "Are you still here?" And then I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should do something." But anyway, that's not really about that.
Brilliant. I also
What?
have an accountability buddy. We meet every
Oh,
Sunday night for half an hour and we have, I'll call them complementary businesses. We're not in competition with each other, but we might serve similar clients for different reasons. And we use the 12-week year to help us to plan our goals and keep each other accountable by pulling us back to, so how's that going? So what have you done towards that goal?
mm. I
Essentially the
have that
thread
with my
pulling back.
I have that with my wife. Like every Sunday, we get together and we do a check in. So we said, because the week starts on Sunday, only because on Monday, if
Okay.
it starts, you feel like for me, I certainly feel like I'm on the back foot, you know? The week has already started and I already feel behind. So it always starts on Sundays and we always have a check in where we ask, okay, you said last Sunday you were going to do this, this, and this. Have you done it? And
Mhm,
the other thing that we've started doing that really helps with accountability is reflection, like a reflection of the week.
mhm.
So we say, like, this is what I want to reflect on throughout the week. And then we have that conversation after check-in, which is, okay, what were your reflections? What were your thoughts during the week about that
Mhm.
topic? Um, and that always really helps. So, I feel accountability is probably the most important thing for me. I don't think I would be able to do as much had we not implemented this Sunday check-in because I really do feel like my discipline levels are not great by any means. Final question, which is,
Okay.
what is the single biggest driver of results or profit in your business? What really brings home the bag?
Hmm. Referrals are usually what lead to bigger ticket business for me.
Mm,
So no matter how small the first job is, I treat it like it's a big ticket job. So I over deliver, I impress them, I'm professional. I'm there to help them with other things, not just the thing I've been brought on for. Uh,
Sam, if you don't mind me
kind of
asking, do you ask for referrals? Like, do you when you're having that job, do you say, "Hey, um, I primarily run on referrals," or is it just something that organically happens?
Well, it's been organic, but I'm going to start proactively asking
Mm,
because why not? What's the worst that
mm,
could happen, right? And actually, Paul Archer, who's another professional speaker, he runs his whole business off it, and he
mm,
says, I don't need to do advertising because referrals is exactly how I get business. And I'm upfront with my clients and I say, this is how I do business. I will be asking you for 3 referrals at the end of our engagement. So if you can have a think about who that might be, that'd be great.
So,
Just totally upfront about it. And it,
wow.
because he is, they don't go, well, that's outrageous. You can't ask us for referrals. Like we think they're going to say. They never say that.
What is a referral in that sense as a complete newbie to business? In that, is it like you asking, hey, do you know somebody who would be interested in my business and therefore I can reach out to them? Or is it, can you tell 3 people about my business so they can reach out to me? How does it work?
So there's 2 kinds of referrals that I tend to get. One is, say I've gone in and delivered something to the finance department.
Yeah.
The finance department loved what I did, and I might say, do you think any of the other teams in your organization could use what I do?
Mm.
It's like an internal referral, which might turn into further work. The other kind of referral is, it's not so much, do you know any businesses who might like my business? It's, do you know anyone who's experiencing the same pain or problem that you had that I came and fixed?
Mm.
Because they'll probably know other businesses, other organizations through their networks who are having the same kind of problems.
Mm. That's a really important point. I think I'm going to do the same. I'm going to start considering how I can ask for referrals. I think it's
Mm.
powerful. Most, the stereotypes about it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's about building friendships and relationships. Those are based on referrals. It's the network effect.
Some of my favorite jobs have been, a friend of mine saw you speak at an event 2 years ago and they said, I must get in touch with you. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's you
And
have to
sometimes there
do it.
is a delay. Sometimes it's the person themselves. I had one that I spoke at a CIPD event, and that was about 2 years later as well. She came to me and she said, we really need you. And
Hmm.
that turned into a £2,500 contract. Great.
It takes time.
It can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's the one thing I'm trying to recognize is to help as many people as you can without the expectation of getting anything back. And for a long
Yes.
time, I actually felt the process of networking to be very sticky, very icky, very, I don't want to do it because it feels like an exchange and I don't want to feel like I'm being used and I don't want to use anyone. The,
Mm.
the switch that really made the difference for me is to stop thinking about it like you are there to network and to start thinking about
Mm.
it, you're just trying to help your friends. In that
Yes,
context,
exactly.
you don't go around helping your friends because you want something back. But your friends,
No,
because you are friends and you are a positive force in their life, they will feel inclined to want to help you as well. And it's a win-win.
definitely.
The rising tide lifts all boats.
Totally. And I go in with the mindset of, I really love building a network of people that I can refer other people to,
Mm,
because I don't want to be all things to all people. I want to stay in my lane.
mm,
So if I met someone who was a fantastic therapist in a networking group, I'd want to find all about them, because they're not in competition with me and they might not be my direct client.
mm,
Um, there is a possibility they might refer someone to me if it was appropriate and a good fit and all that. But actually, it's more often the other way round, where I'm looking to refer one of my clients to a therapist for
mm.
something specific. And it might be trauma therapy or something else, something really niche. So that, for me, that gives me confidence that I have people I can go to who I now like, know, and trust, because I've taken the time to get to know them. And
Yeah.
that makes me look really good to other clients when they say, do you know anyone who? And I go, do you know, I do. I've got 2 people I can refer to you. Thanks, Sam. I didn't solve their problem, but at least I took away the pain of trying to find somebody.
And you've helped them. You've helped multiple
Yeah,
people without having to. It's such a powerful thing that I
it
think.
is. And I have to put the credit to Saroj Baines. Saroj Baines taught me that.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned 2 really important things. The one with you said with Paul Archer, where he said, at the start of every conversation, I work on referrals. Please think of 3 referrals because that's how I do my business. That's such an upfront, very honest, very easy way. And if you do it at the very start, it doesn't feel weird because then you're delivering something of value, which feels like, they know that that's what you want. You deliver the value, and then all of a sudden, you can see results. And the point you're saying about having a list of people around you, a network of people that you can refer to, it's not about you, it's about them. And I think I'm going to do something very similar to that.
Definitely, definitely. And that whole thing of I know a lot of trainers who don't do a follow-up session after they've delivered the training.
Mm,
Once it's delivered, that's kind of it, and they just
mm,
pop their invoice in or whatever. And I'm like, why wouldn't you have a follow-up session with them to
mm,
discuss, any feedback, any outcomes, remind them about the referrals, um, ask them how quickly the invoice might be paid if you didn't get it paid up front, because it's not always possible. So very well people saying, get it paid in advance. Some places just won't.
yeah, that's true.
And if you want the work, it's tough.
Yeah, a lot of big companies
Yeah,
will be like that. It's just the way they do their accounting.
yeah, exactly. And if you find out in the beginning that the client you're working for has a 60-day turnaround on an invoice,
Mm,
which is not nice, but if you know it, then you can start to budget around it. You can put it in your forecast that, okay, so I won't get paid in July for that gig, but I will hopefully get paid in September. So that goes into the September pot when you're
mm.
sort of planning your year. Because it is
That-
a roller coaster. There is no kind of constant money coming in nicely every month. There's ups and downs. August traditionally for me is a very quiet month, usually. However, I've got 2 paid speaking gigs in August now, which I don't
Wow,
normally have. Great.
nice. I found with August though, it's not just for businesses. I think it's just all round. It's just a quiet month because
It
it's
is. And December and January are
yeah.
quiet
That it
because of
makes a lot.
Christmas and New Year and
It makes a lot of sense.
people not spending stuff.
Most corporate jobs are very quiet in August as well. It's probably
Yeah.
a natural dip, and it should be like that. To be
But
honest, it won't be
we
any.
have to carve out time to work in our business and on our business.
What's the
So
difference?
in our business is we're delivering, we might be doing the marketing, the running of the business. It's actually running, doing. And then quite often we do a lot of that, and there's not much time for the strategic planning. There's sort of, okay, so I'm doing this and that's kind of working, but let's plan to do some split testing on something to test a new product, or let's create a new product or service. Let's create a course, create a show reel, write a book, edit loads of videos, put them on YouTube. Whatever it is that you want to add to your business, do a new website. If you're constantly delivering and marketing and delivering and marketing, there's no time to do the extra to build your business. So you have to
Mm,
carve out some time to do that as well. And so for me, traditionally, it's August, December, and January where I would do those activities. And then I don't feel bad that I haven't got speaking gigs because actually I'm really excited to get on with this new stuff.
that's beautiful. I think one point that's always on my mind, and I guess we can end it on that. But one point that's always on my mind is what's the ratio of working in versus on? How often should you be focused on marketing and finding potential clients and leads, and how often should you be more concerned with your positioning as a business and what services you could offer and doing the cost benefit analysis between it's going to cost me this much to deliver this much to you in terms of profit.
Okay.
What's the ratio that you have in mind?
So mine is about 2/3, 1/3. So 2/3 is delivery and connecting on LinkedIn and doing all that good stuff and promoting and making sure my website's updated and writing blogs and all that sort of stuff. Um, and then 1/3 of it is the strategic and the goal planning and the developing new products and that kind of stuff.
Mm,
But then I'm 10 years into doing this full time. I started
mm,
in 2008, but I went full time in 2015. I think it's different when you're at different stages in your business, or if you're rebooting your business or relaunching it in some way and going, okay, slight pivot, we're going to do this now. Okay. So you might spend 2/3 of the time on the development of the business,
mm.
And then in that third, that's the bit that you're going to promote it whilst it picks up speed, whilst you test stuff. And I
Sam,
think that changes throughout a business.
yeah, like with most things, it's an organic process. Who would
Very much so.
who would you like to hear, their perspective on business, their way of performing, or their key drivers of results? Who do you have in mind that you thought, you know what, if I could sit down and listen to this person tell me about their perspective on business, who would that person be?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I think I'd quite like to have a chat with Richard Branson.
Wow.
Um,
Why Richard Branson?
so I think he comes from a place of trying things quite fearlessly.
Hmm.
Um, Now, part of that might be because of his neurodivergence. He's well known as dyslexic,
Hmm.
and that quite often can make you fantastic with people, remember? And that can give you courage to try things because you know your world won't fall apart if it goes wrong because you've
Hmm.
got people, right? Because you're good with people, you know? Uh,
He's quite
and he
famous for
had a
being
lot
good
of
with people.
courage.
Yeah, he's very famous for being good with people. Very, very famous for being.
Very He
Yeah.
is. And he is courageous. He's tried a lot of stuff. I mean, he talks about some of the stunts he did over the years, just because it was fantastic publicity for his brand.
Hmm.
Like the big balloon air stuff that he did, ballooning around the world and all that kind of stuff. And everyone's going, oh, he's just a bit of a nutter. No, he's not a nutter at all.
He was kind of the original billionaire who understood personal branding. He
He,
really had
I mean, he's
something
the
going. Yeah.
epitome of an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
without a doubt. Some of the other people who were billionaires and entrepreneurs, started in a garage kind of thing like that. I don't see the same courage that he's had to try so many different things. I mean,
Hmm.
he tried to buy Concorde.
He's a
And they wouldn't
unique.
let him.
He's a bit of a. When I think of Richard Branson, I just think of a eccentric billionaire, very charismatic um, entrepreneur, kind of like the stereotype of what you think a successful entrepreneur would be. I think of Richard Branson.
I have a similar picture in my head, if I could see pictures in my head, uh, but also with an added. He has a lack of ego that's so refreshing.
Ah,
He's not interested in status. He's not interested in, ooh, look at my car. He's never been that way. He's always been about, what can we do next? What can we try that's different to what we've already done? You
ah.
know, how can we change the world? Maybe not in a altruistic or, I don't know, climate way or anything like that. But, what if I bought an airline or made an airline? He came from a record shop. It's so far away from that.
It goes to show that
And
anything is possible if you really do have the courage to question. Anything can be done. I mean, it's not to say that anyone is just going to be like Richard Branson, but it is a good
no,
example that you are limiting yourself more than you would like to admit.
and we see some brands have bought into that whole mentality of Richard Branson's,
Hmm.
like Red Bull, for example. So
Hmm.
Red Bull's a drink, right? So what's it doing sponsoring F1 motorsport and people doing crazy stuff, jumping out of things, flying, just all sorts of absolutely bonkers stuff. And their reputation is, for the fearless, the
Yeah,
people who've got wings, right?
it's a
And
fantastic
it's
example. It really is. Like you
so
don't,
clever.
when you think Red Bull, you do think of, especially from a football lens, because I enjoy watching football. They now have garnered a reputation as being like young, scrappy, and really like forward thinking, which really does Red Bull a huge favor because it's just like a walking advertisement for their company, and it's a whole football brand, which is You know, they know what they're doing. They're very good at they're very good at what they're doing.
Absolutely. The only downside is that their drink is revolting.
Yeah, I mean, the ingredients are also very questionable.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. Yeah, let's all have palpitations. Yeah, great.
Yeah, yeah, but it gives you wings. Sam, I've really enjoyed your company.
Ditto.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I've learned some really two really important lessons. Actually, three. I think you described the point around empathy when you said that you wish people understood that it's not, this idea that you need to be more empathetic or they can't be empathetic. It's not that when it comes to people who are neurodivergent. It's not that they're not capable. It's that they have a desire, or in your case, I don't want to actually generalize, but in your case, you have a desire to want to fix problems, and you have a shorter fuse for the whole, as you described it. Oh, and it's given me a new perspective on that. And the point around always ask for free referrals at the very start. I like that. That's a practical, actionable thing that I'm going to implement. And then the final point around having a network of people that you can refer to, so it's not always about you. I'm going to do that as well. So, what a wonderful conversation.
Great. Well, I wish you well to use all of those tools to great success.
Thank you, Sam. I'll stop recording now. So I'll hit that.